It was a fine morning on the Isle, the sun beating through the holes in the wall, as the car and I waited for my companion and second-in-command, Sophia, to arrive with a crucial component for the machine. Hours passed, and my patience was running thin when, not Sophia, but Florence entered the hut, escorted by none other than Bratchery. A mole within the insurgency, working under Zakar. Becoming tired of the clandestine life and constant guilt of lying to his sister, he gave it up and instead came to our aid. "Anik's really gone and done it now," Bratchery exclaimed. The speed that he learned our language baffled me, outpacing Zakar and other Pangeans who had been learning it for years. Place in the homeland rested on his ability to learn formality, but influences know his immense prodigiousness would be an asset. I listened as Bratchery retold the events of the morning. Anik, it seemed, had ambushed Sophia while she was bringing me the last components needed to complete my machine, and was now holding her hostage. I attempted to subdue my feelings, but that was an impossible endeavor. I cackled, sowing confusion among all who were present. If Anik thinks she has Sophia hostage, a nasty surprise will befell her. The situation is quite the opposite. I spoke through laughs and tears as the thought of Anik attempting to intimidate Sophia be met with brutal nonchalance. After all, Sophia, at one point, was my bodyguard. A rough, female scream echoed through the settlement, shredding my confidence. I turned to the hold wall with growing anxiety. Sophia was never in danger, never. However, moving without thinking, I grabbed Bratchery and threw us both through the hole. We fell for far too long before Bratchery nullified gravity's pull on us. I directed him to take us to where the scream had come from, and we floated towards a warehouse-like structure nestled on a cirrus platform. Within 10 minutes, we had landed and placed a foot onto the cloudy surface, apprehensive that it might fall through. I was unsurprised, though, that it held my weight. Another scream echoed through the sky, seeming to bounce off the air itself. We ran towards the door, but a wall of force knocked me back. Bratchery and I stood, confused, and my heart palpitated in an extreme cocktail of nervousness and altitude. We could not enter the building. It was then that a shadow cast itself over us, blocking light from the sun. That silhouette I recognized without a doubt. Zakar descended onto the clouds. He grunted to Bratchery, using their language to keep me in the dark, and he marched towards the entrance. The wall gave way to him, and he walked, unobstructed, into the warehouse. When I tried to follow, Bratchery barred my entrance. I realized quickly that protesting was a hopeless endeavor, as Bratchery was steadfast in his loyalty to Zakar, as he was immovable. "Anik is our responsibility." Bratchery tried to comfort me in his uncanny rendition of my language. "Zakar will deal with her." So it was that we sat on the clouds awaiting Zakar's return with Sophia. Raised voices of confrontation escaped from the inside, but never the sounds of battle. Zakar returned to us. Sophia laid over his shoulder. To say she was in a bad way would be a disservice to her torture. It was as though she had bathed in blood. Bruises peppered her body, contorted at unusual angles. Her extremities rendered inoperable. Yet, as expected, she had remained conscious. How Zakar handled the situation, I will never know. But only with a wistful look into the distance, accompanied by silence. I never saw Anik leave that warehouse. A strange sensation that she was not a handled threat loomed in the furthest clouds. At Zakar's homestead, we found Sophia's component damaged beyond repair. As protocol demanded, Florence and I joined hands and stood, shoulders touching. Florence waved her arms, mimicking sound waves as she channeled and produced the magnetic force needed to transmit my thoughts to the Oested. Zakar and Bratchery were bewildered as I planned my message. My thoughts raced from my forehead, barely contained by my dome. I felt them flow and convert into radio waves, pulsing towards the shore and to the giant transmitter set up on the Oested. Formation wavered, and Florence placed her hands on the floor with care. The current dispelled from them, grounded by the rocks. We received word from the ship. It would take 5 years to replace the component. Depressing, the situation set in. Stoked by Sophia's state, it took at least a month before motivation returned. Once she had healed, however, our walks around the settlement revealed to us that the Pangeans lacked many of the technological essentials of their homeland. And so we set about creating the technologies needed to improve the lives of our newfound neighbours. One of our people can revolutionize a country. 3 of us can work miracles. We created light bulbs. We created automatic farming equipment for the Isle's farm tower. But, most importantly, and perhaps controversially, built an academy of electromagnetism. By the time the component arrived, the Isle existed in the future. Houses had light in the darkness, and many of the newer generation had become disciples of a most sacred magic. Zakar had found a wife and sired a child. Trippy was his name. He had become our most prestigious student. It was fortuitous that both Zakar and Bratchery were in our camp. Without their mastery of Newton-mancy, Zanchu, as I discovered the Pangeans called it, the component wouldn't have made it to us. Even after all we did for them, entire clusters of homes still remained unlit. Specialist farms emerged using only manual labour, and many students from the academies saw daily harassment.